Welcome. My name is Bella, and I'm one of your presenters today for our webinar, Tech Tips and Best Practices. As always, we've got a few housekeeping items before we get started. This webinar is being recorded, and it'll be made available to you on our website and also on our YouTube channel. There are 2 poll questions that were recently released to you on the screen. So if you have a moment, take a moment and answer those before we get started. And also at the end of our webinar, we'll be doing a Q&A session. So feel free to type your questions into the Q&A box at the bottom of your chat, and then we'll get to as many of those questions as we can at the end of our presentation. So as I mentioned, my name is Bella. I am the office manager here at KWB. I'm usually behind the scenes. I manage the music, the slides, and everything for these webinars. But today, I am your presenter, and I feel like that's probably due to the fact that around the office, my nickname is Tech Junior. So today, I will be one of your hosts. Quentin, will you take a moment, introduce yourself, and then you can get us started.
I'm Quentin Bubb. I'm a wealth manager and the COO here at KWB. So Bella and I together internally manage with another partner of ours the technology here at the firms. I do have one thing I think that'll help with that, Bella. Let me get my hat on here.
Oh, yes.
How do I look? I look okay?
Perfect. You look ready to talk about technology, Quentin.
Yeah. So we wanted to share with you guys, especially as we're coming into the holidays here, some technology best practices, tips, and then even some things that we're seeing with, scams and whatnot that are out there. So there's a whole list of potential scams that anyone could could fall to. I mean, and this list is very small compared to actually what there actually is and could be out there. Today, we're only going to talk about 5 or 6 of them. The first one on our list is check washing. Then we'll get into like gift card scams and like fake charities, lookalike websites, missed delivery notifications, and then some phishing emails from that look like they're from companies you trust. The first one here is check washing. Doesn't sound very technology-esque, especially since checks have been around for a long time before computers. But basically, we wanted to kind of give you an idea of what check washing is and then maybe how you could prevent it. And actually, the prevention of it is a technology kind of a tip here. So check washing is where, somebody gets a hold of a check that you wrote. Then they use a chemical, like in this example, they used acetone to try and wash the check. So what they're doing is they're washing like the pay to and the amount off of the check and then trying to rewrite it and deposit it into their own account or somewhere else. Therefore, stealing money out of your bank account. So how could you prevent this from happening? One thing is, safeguard your mail. Most likely, if this were to happen, it's going to be because your mail was stolen, either from wherever you put that check in the mail. So, a lot of us might just walk out to the street, throw that envelope with the check in our mailbox, put the little flag up, and then the mailman or woman comes by, grabs that, puts in your new mail, and moves on through. Somebody could grab it in between that period of you putting it in there. The other thing is if it got to somewhere that wasn't like a post office box or something like that, it could also be stolen as well. So if you're mailing it to a business that doesn't use a post office box or like another individual, a charity, anything like that, usually the check's going to get stolen, which would allow then somebody to do the washing part of it. So how could you prevent check washing? Well, you could actually use online banking features. And this is actually safer depending on how you set it up. So there's a couple different methods. One is I go on to the company's website and I put in my banking information. Now I've given the company my bank account number. Not really any different than writing a check and sending it to the company, because right there, they got your bank account number and a signed check. So it's very similar, doesn't really protect your information necessarily. The other way that you could do it is actually some banks do allow for you to set up online banking where you put in the information at the bank account level and push it to the vendor that you're trying to pay. So if you're trying to pay your Edison utility bill, you could put it in at the bank level and then make the payment from there. So that is an option. The other thing too, is using credit cards versus checks and debit cards. So I know credit cards they get a bad rap because of, people using them for reasons that may extend them outside of their means, building up balances and whatnot. If you are an individual who is, minding your money, you're living within your means, you're paying your credit card bill every month, you're not rolling over a balance, using credit cards to make as many of your payments as possible is actually better than using a check, because you get a few things with the credit card. One is purchase protection. So if you made a purchase, some credit card companies will actually protect that purchase as long as you have a receipt for up to like 120 days. So if it were damaged or stolen, you could actually get a new replacement product depending on what your credit card has as far as protection on purchases. The other thing is fraud protection. So when you think about a credit card company, okay, that it's their money that went to whoever that scammer fraudulent charge was. So the credit card company is actually going to fight really hard to get their money back. When it comes to a debit card and a check, typically it's up to you as the end user, the bank account holder, the debit card holder, to get your money back. You actually have to do more of the fighting. Now, there are some things, different banks offer different protections. So the best thing really is to kind of go look at, what your contract with your bank does for you. But, like I said, if you're somebody who lives within your means, can handle a credit card, that's probably actually a safer option. The other thing is shred all your sensitive documents. So if you have a check that you voided, or you were writing a check and you misspelled something, or you put the wrong dollar amount, whatever it might be, don't take that check in its full form and throw it in the trash. You want to make sure that you shred it and it doesn't end up in the wrong hands. The other thing is use special ink. So don't use ballpoint pens. A lot of times we'll use just the traditional ballpoint pen. That is easier to wash off of a check than a gel ink pen or an indelible ink pen. And the other option too is if you really want to be writing checks versus using online banking features, is that checks nowadays you have to pay a little bit more for it typically, not a whole lot more, but you can get checks that have security features. Now they might not look as fun and cool as like a Disney check or the one with flowers on it and stuff, but they're safer than some of those other checks that we have that we see. So those are kind of the things to look at for check washing. I know it's not really a tech thing, but the solutions around it are more tech based. So now we're going to get into some other things that you're seeing through text message and email and whatnot. The first one would be the gift card. If you work for a company, you may have received something that looks like this email on the screen, basically asking or telling you that it kind of might look like it's from your boss or somebody you work with, saying, hey, I need you to go to Target and get me, 5 $100 gift cards, and then scratch off the back and send me the codes on the back. If you get this email and it looks like it's coming from somebody you want to click in there and look further, because a lot of times the from box just says Isabella Figueroa or Quentin Bubb. It doesn't say, Quentin Bubb, Quentin at KWB Wealth. You want to make sure that you double check that to see who's actually sending it to you, to make sure that it is legitimate, because what could happen is, hey, I see my boss needs these. I'm going to run out to Target, get the gift cards. I'm going to send them the numbers, and now you're out the $300 or $400 or $500, whatever you did, because they get the codes. They can go then use that money wherever that you gave them the gift cards for. So those are going to come through in emails asking you to act. The best thing to do, again, is just verify the sender, and then we'll get into what actions you should take in regards to like handling these. The other one is fake charities. They're going to send you similar emails. they're also going to send you or do phone calls as well. Might sound like a legitimate charity, and they're going to make it sound like you gave to them last year. All right, we're in the giving mood. It's that time of year, right? The holidays. Charity calls up and said, "Hey, Mr. Bubb, you gave us, $1,000 last year to support, this whatever charity." And you went, "Oh yeah, maybe I did do that." And they'll ask you for your credit card information. They might send you an email and say, "Hey, you gave us money. Click on the link to, make the same donation this year. We've made it really easy for you," whatever that might be. You don't want to do that. You always, if you're going to give to a charity, if you're going to give to anybody, you want to go to them. Don't have them come to you and then give them your information. That's the best way to kind of prevent any kind of credit scam or fraudulent scam from those kinds of situations. The next one is the missed delivery texts or upcoming delivery texts. Again, we're in the holidays. We're buying gifts for everybody. Amazon, UPS, USPS, FedEx, they're all showing up at our door on a daily basis. And with the way technology works nowadays, we pretty much get a notification every move or bounce that package makes. So as it works its way to your front door, you're getting texts about it getting delivered. You're getting texts about it being delayed in delivery. You're getting text messages that it's been delivered. You want to make sure, again, that you look at who's sending you that text message because, yeah, maybe you ordered something, but the text could look suspicious. If you look at the middle one in this picture, it shows us, it looks like it's the USPS, but that link in the blue there is not the United States Postal Service website. The other link on the left looks more legitimate. That could be the US Postal Service. But the best thing to do is if you're expecting packages, go to whoever is sending you the package, go to their website and click, and put in the tracking information there versus using the links and stuff that they're sending you to you. And then one of the final ones here is the phishing emails. So these are emails that come from senders that look like companies that we use on a daily basis and trust. On the left-hand side, we've got Microsoft there, and they're sending us a QR code to say, "Hey, scan this to update your password," or something like that. Well, they want you to scan that, click on the link, and then they potentially could put some sort of malware on your device. So you want to go, again, directly to Microsoft or Outlook, wherever they're prompting, to make those password changes to put in your credit card information. On the right, we've got an email that looks like it's coming from Netflix. If you look at the sender, it really isn't Netflix. That's not a Netflix email hosted address. But they're asking you to update your current billing information. What they want you to do is click on the link in there and put in your credit card information. Now they have your credit card and they can go use it wherever they want. So these are all some tech emails, text messages, kind of things that are coming through to you. The best way to prevent any fraud related to any of those is to just not click on the link. Don't do it. Don't click on the blue hyperlink. Don't click on any buttons that are inside of the email. The best thing to do is to always go to the company directly. If it's Netflix, go to netflix.com, log in, change your information there. If it's if you're tracking a package, go to the tracking website, put in your information directly there. Especially if you are unsure about whether or not the item is legitimate. The next thing on how to prevent some of this stuff is if it's coming from, and it looks like it's coming from somebody okay, like an individual, maybe it's like somebody here at KWB, a family member, a friend, but you're still unsure about it. I would be, even, my dad might send me something and I'd be like, "I'm not going to click on that link." What I would do is actually pick up the phone and call him or start a new email or start a new text message. So don't respond to the message that you received. Even if it looks like it's legitimate, you want to start a new chain, because what could happen is somebody potentially could have gotten into your friend's email, sent you a link from their email. Now you've clicked on it or you've responded, and they know they've got action there and they can continue to move forward. So the best thing to do is just ignore it, start new emails, don't click on the buttons, go directly to the websites. So now we're talking about websites. There's a thing called lookalike websites. And these are websites that you probably ended up at because you clicked on the link in the email or in the text message. If you did that and you're landed on a website, first thing to do is if you were expecting the USPS is to verify up in the URL box there, is this the USPS website? If it does not look like it is, like this one is not the real one, then that gives you a flag, hey, shouldn't do anything else on this website. Or you can see down below, they're prompting you to change your address or something like that. So they're gonna want you to click on the button, you're gonna put in your information, and then now they have it. So you want to make sure that you don't, if you end up here, again, don't act on it. Go directly, like I said, to the website. So if you go to the URL, type in USPS or Netflix, whatever the company, and make the changes there. All right, so I clicked on the link, I put in my information, I answered the phone, I gave them my credit card information. What do? I noticed, or the bank, statements, something looked funny. So in the event that you did fall for one of these scams, now they are getting better and stronger, so don't beat yourself up too much about it if it does happen. But the thing to do is if you gave them your credit card information, you want to call the credit card company immediately. Tell them what the transaction that was made. They'll stop it, cancel the card, send you a new one. If you gave them your social security number over the phone, someone called you and said, hey, in order to verify your information, we need your social security number. Well, if you did that and it wasn't indeed a company that you were supposed to be talking to, you'll want to contact the 4 credit agencies, have your credit locked, and then sign up for something like a LifeLock where they monitor your credit and you get alerts if anything suspicious comes up. If you clicked on a link on a device, like your phone or a computer, okay, Bella's going to talk a little bit about different products that you can use for this situation, but you're going to want to run a malware scan on your computer, search for viruses, update your device if it's not already up to date. You might even have to go as far as maybe restoring like a phone or something, just depending on what happened. But if something did happen too, you can always contact the various providers of the devices and they can give you some next best actions. So with that, Bella, give us some best practices. But before you do that, do you know why the computer went to the dentist?
Why did the computer go to the dentist?
To get his Bluetooth checked.
That's a good one. Good one, Quentin. Well, thank you for that, Quentin. I'm going to share some best practices. Of course, Quentin shared a lot of scams coming into the holiday season that you may see, but also want to share some best practices, not only the holiday season, but just year round, things to be looking for. You can see a few of them here on the screen. We'll talk about all these and even a few more than these. It's a lot of information, but I'm hoping we broke it down in a way that's understandable here. So I want to start with Wi-Fi. You always want to make sure that your device is connected to a secured, password-protected Wi-Fi network. This prevents unauthorized users from accessing your Wi-Fi and your data on your device and stealing any of your personal information while you're browsing, shopping, holiday shopping, anything like that. You just want to keep all of your, of course, personal information, personal and private. Especially when you're traveling, make sure that you're on password-protected network, a hotspot, or you can also use a VPN to access the internet on your device. For your personal devices, you just want to make sure that they're password protected. Quentin, I recently shared with you, I had a conversation with my mom actually. She's like, Bella, do I have to have a password on my phone? She has a phone that still uses a fingerprint to log in. It's a little frustrating when it doesn't work the first few times. So she's like, I just want to be able to click the button and get into my phone. I'm like, Mom, there's personal information on there, and if you left your phone anywhere accidentally, they would be able to have all of that personal information, your banking information, any passwords, any private text messages, documents, anything you saved on there, they can have access to. So she wasn't happy with my answer, but I did tell her, no, Mom, but we can make the PIN something memorable for you if that's helpful. So that was my solution for her. But
Is one,
speaking of,
two, three, four okay?
no, that's exactly what I'm going to get into, Quentin. Thank you for, look at that segue right there. Great timing. Unique passwords. You want to make sure that your passwords, one, are unique and different. You're supposed to be actually in an ideal world. Every single password you use would be different. Now, that'd be pretty hard to remember, especially because we typically make passwords that are, like I said, easy to remember using a birth date, a year, names, your kids' names, pet names, or other common phrases, like Quentin said, 1 2 3 4 0 0 0 0. I've seen that one too, believe it or not. And it's so easy for people to guess. It's often one of their first things that they try. So you want to make sure everything's different, unique. It can be just random words. That's actually what typically a device, a password manager is what it's called, but that's what they would recommend. It's just kind of some random words in a string with some numbers and digits as well. But what a password manager is it's basically a vault that holds all of your passwords in one place. You put in one master password one time. That's the only one you have to remember. And then as you're browsing, it knows that those websites that you've saved your passwords for. And so it will automatically fill in those as you're going. So you only have to remember one. And it also reminds you to update that master password I think it's every 90 days, I believe, too. So an example of that's LastPass. That's one that's pretty common, and that one I've used before. I like that one, too. Another thing we can do here, actually really common, I think we've seen more and more recently. To me, it feels like it's more of a newer thing, but dual authentication. It's also called multi-factor authentication, or MFA. A lot of apps use this feature now, but what it does, it prompts you to confirm your identity with a code that's sent to you via text, email, or even sometimes a phone call. You can call your home phone if you want, and give you a code. This is just another way for them to verify that you are who you really say you are. So you'll insert your username and password, and then it'll prompt you one more time. Are you sure that, are you sure you're you? Type in this code that we sent to this phone number ending in whatever, the last four of your phone number. And this is another way too the way I think about it is if someone's trying to get into my email account, I will be notified that they have my username and password because they have to verify also. So I'll get the text on my phone and then I'll realize, oh, I'm not trying to get into my email right now. I need to go update my password. So just another added layer of security there. Another thing we really want to be careful is downloading things onto our phone. Make sure all downloads are coming from trusted sources because often they'll use apps, random apps you'll download, and it maybe sounds like a fine app, looks okay, but it's really what they're doing is getting all your personal information from your phone. You want to make sure you're picky about that. And that also applies to documents. A lot of documents you can download from your email, and those can also have malware embedded in them too. You want to ensure your device's software is up to date. So what they often do is they'll put out software updates that have what's called security patches. And if they find a breach in security somewhere, they'll download a patch in that software update that allows it covers your system. It'll fix anything that needs to happen. And you can typically find those updates in your device settings. Now, for your home computer or laptop, like Quentin was mentioning, malware and antivirus softwares. So antivirus, what it does is it prevents identity theft and it blocks phishing and fraud attempts. It'll warn you about dangerous websites and links before you click on them. So it's kind of taking the guessing out of it, taking the human error maybe out of it. And it also keeps your online accounts protected with secure password encryption. And they often, too, will provide some simple basic training to teach you how to browse safely online. And a few examples of these would be Bitdefender, McAfee, Malwarebytes, and Avast. Now, for malware, they sound similar, but they're different things. Malware is another, obviously, layer of protection, but what it does, it protects against cyber attacks. So this software will periodically scan your computer to identify, quarantine, and eliminate any malware to keep your system secure. And Malwarebytes and Avast have a malware software as well, but also Norton has one too. It's a good one. Also, I learned recently, you can buy Windows operating system in what's called S mode. And so as you're shopping, maybe you just automatically want that protection and you just go buy a Windows computer in S mode. This is a version of Windows operating system that it actually already comes with the baseline security, so it won't let you click on any compromised links. Now, phone for your cell phones. Our phones are everywhere with us. So I feel like that's, to me personally, I would consider that the highest risk. So you want to make sure you're not storing your passwords on notes, especially I believe like iPhone has notes. I'm sure Android has some form of notes. Don't save your passwords there. It's not encrypted. It's not safe. Pretty much anyone can access those. You just make sure you want to put those in a password manager, or, I mean, yeah, just be really careful with those. Don't text those. You don't want to text any personal identifiable information. You don't want to text your social address. What else? You just, passwords, usernames, things of that nature. You don't want to be sending those via text or email. You don't want to click, like Quentin already said, if you get anything from this presentation, don't click on any hyperlinks unless you know that you know that you know it's coming from someone you trust and they're actually the person that sent it to you. Because again, maybe someone hacked into their email and they're sending you a link there.
Yeah, don't click on the link. And then if we ask you or we call you and say, hey, if we called you and said, hey, we need to update your socials missing, or we need to verify your social security for an account reason or driver's license number, any of that information, don't go, oh, okay, I'll just email it over to you. Don't throw it in an email, even though you know it's coming to us. It can still be picked up somewhere in the cloud on its way to our inboxes. You want to make sure, don't click on the link, and then don't send us any of your PII. That's why too, if you send it to us, if you do send us your PII in an email, we're actually going to respond to you in a new email because we don't want to keep passing that information out there.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah, we had just one last tip for businesses too. Working remotely is kind of the new way of the world maybe, but it can be a real threat. So we'd highly recommend setting a remote work policy to protect your business, your client information, and also your employees' information too. So now, before we wrap up here, I wanted to show you some examples of emails that may come from KWB. These are typically what's called DocuSign is this first one here. And this will be asking for an e-signature on this. But here you can see there's obvious LPL financial branding that will always be there. And you can also see this one in particular is coming from Quentin's LPL email address. So it's quentin.bubb@lpl.com. So this one, you can be sure it's from us. But again, any questions or concerns, we are more than happy to confirm that this is really from us. This one is another program we use sometimes. It's called Adobe Sign. And so this one too, LPL branding. This one happened to come from Jamie Vickery. So jamie.vickery@lpl.com. But again, before you click that blue button, if you're in doubt, if it looks kind of fishy, give us a call. We're happy to confirm. Perfect. Now we want to open it up. Actually, you want to go over those poll questions, Quentin?
Sure, we can start there.
Let's start there. But as we're answering these, go ahead. If you have any Q&A, type them into the box. We'd be happy to get to some of those today too.
All right. So the first one here was, how much money did Americans lose to internet scams in 2022? And the answer is $10.3 million.
Million. I'm going to share the results here so you can see how we did here.
Yeah, looks like everyone got that one.
Yeah.
And then what percentage of hacking related breaches are due to compromised passwords? And that's 81%. Yeah. Yep. I think they did a study or so they found it like one of the more common is still, even to this day, some version of the word password is being used to protect stuff. And also on your phone, the 1, 2, 3, 4. So you just want long, complicated passwords that don't have phrases. The other thing that, don't use a phrase in your password or anything that's like familiar, that if I went on your Facebook page, I could maybe kind of figure out what that password is. And then on your phone, you should have 6 digits at least as your phone code. So 4 is no longer enough. We need 6. In a couple years, it'll be 8. We'll just keep adding.
Longer and longer and more complicated, probably, as the future goes on.
Yep. Unfortunately. Yeah. All right. So Bella, do we have any questions out there?
We do. Let me pull one up here. How can we determine if a site is safe to link our account to? They left an example of Mint. Mint is like a budgeting app. So how do we know for sure that it's safe?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different like budgeting accounts. We use a software here as well that will link, accounts to. You want to check the encryption level on it, and also know whether or not it's a trusted site. So like Mint is a trusted one. Anything run by like Intuit would be. And then if it has 256-bit encryption, that is like the strongest encryption that's out there. That is then a signal that, hey, this is probably a safe product to use. But, don't go to some obscure, uh, budgets.com or something and like, give your account information there and link it all up. The other thing too is most of those encryption or those connections. So if you're using a budgeting app like Mint, if you're using QuickBooks or Intuit, even with like our account view and the eMoney portal or the LiveWell portal that we use, if you're in one of our financial plans and logging into there, all that does is it like skims the surface of basically of your account and just pulls the values of it. So typically when you're creating those connections, you're using your password and username. You're not actually giving your bank account number to Mint. So it's safer because of that reason. So they're just skimming the top saying, here's the transactions, and now this is how we allocate them. And here's the values, here's the numbers. It's not actually a connection of, hey, let me send money back and forth. So the encryption level is important, how you're connecting it. So as long as you're not giving them like I said, your account information, and then just kind of, making sure that you're using a legitimate product that's out there. For that kind of stuff, if you're looking, Smart Asset and Bankrate are good websites to kind of just skim through, hey, what's a good budgeting tool? And then, like I said, too, pretty much any product from Intuit is safe as well.
Cool. We have another one here. Sometimes we hear about major corporations, hospitals, et cetera, that have been hacked. What are we as KWB doing to protect our retirement investment information from being hacked?
Yeah, so when this happens, usually it's not like there was a breach of several years ago with like Target and a bunch of purchasers, their credit card information was stolen. And then even at LPL a few years ago, we had an issue where some people's information, and usually what it is it's not the accounts and the values and the dollars in the accounts. So somebody's not grabbing it and sending it to China unless you gave your information to somebody you probably shouldn't have. Typically what's going to happen is there's a third party of some sort. So we had LPL had a relationship with another company that company actually had the breach. It wasn't LPL. Target, they had some mom and pop AC company or something like that, help working on buildings, and the bad actors were able to get in through those smaller companies that weren't managing their technology as well and their cybersecurity. And so that's where the infiltration took place. If that happens, and you are one of the people that are a part of it, you want to go sign up for LifeLock. Typically the companies too will give you like 2 years. That seems to be like the standard 2 years of like a LifeLock subscription. For us, what we are doing, we take cybersecurity very seriously. LPL takes it very seriously. The SEC takes it very seriously, FINRA. So we're always kind of making sure, again, like everything has those strong encryptions. So, 256 on any of our planning stuff. Like I said, anything too that comes between, if we're showing you a LiveWell plan, your actual information is not in there. There's nothing transactional that they can go in and get into your eMoney account and all of a sudden send money to China or something like that. LPL has a lot of locks as well on the banking side of things. Again, where breaches usually happen and where we have issues is from the third parties, and then we get like our personally identifiable information like social security numbers, date of birth, address, that kind of stuff gets stolen. The way that your funds something could happen is if you're giving out your account information and somehow it gets grabbed here. When we set up banking instructions and all of that, we require physical signatures either through DocuSign or physical paper signature. We're going to confirm those instructions with you. So we're not responding to email saying somebody pretending to be you saying, hey, I want to send money to this bank account. Can you set it up for me? Okay, that to us looks suspicious. We're going to call you and verify before we do any of that.
Perfect. Now, how do we feel about Apple's password manager or Google's password manager? The one that automatically comes on your phone and Apple asks you, hey, would you like to save this to your keychain maybe?
Yeah, so those are good password managers. They're just about as secure and very similar to like a LastPass or some of the other products out there. Those are again only as strong as well as your device password is. So if you again have 1234 as your password, anyone can get into your phone, unlock that, and get in there and see those passwords. But the encryption level, especially Apple's, they take security and privacy pretty seriously. Their encryption is pretty strong. I use the Apple keychain for things on my devices. And then I use the LastPass as well. But you just want to make sure that however you're managing that is done appropriately. You're changing the password frequently. You have a strong password for it, but any of those are okay. It just comes down to, like I said, how you manage the device where the information is kept.
Cool. And I think we have time for one more. I recently heard a term, Quentin, this one's from me, and I think it'd be good to share here. What is a digital executor?
Yeah, so a digital executor is kind of like the executor of your estate. Like if something happened to you, you've given somebody else the ability to manage your estate on your behalf. So a digital executor is kind of the same thing. Like you've given somebody the ability to act on your behalf in a digital space. So we're financial planners. So we're all about, building, maintaining, and implementing financial plans. Part of that is estate planning, and we tell you a lot of people, hey, especially if you're getting mail for your statements and stuff like that, is like put everything in a folder. Have all of the bank accounts, the life insurance policies, retirement plans, where everything's kind of held out. Put it in a folder so that if something were to happen to you, whoever steps in as your POA or your executor has access to that. The other thing to do is you can actually nominate somebody through something like LastPass or even individual websites to be your digital executor. And you want to share either the password with them or keep the password in the folder in a safe where somebody can get into it. It's no good though, like you put it in the safe and nobody knows how to get into the safe, right? So you just want to make sure whoever is that person is like you've shared that information with, and then they can actually log in on your behalf. I mean, nowadays, more and more we're getting stuff electronically. We don't have paper statements showing up at our house. Back, before it used to be, hey, mom and dad passed away, and we've been getting this mail periodically. And so we figure there's accounts at all of these different places. Well, the only way now to figure that out to some degree is to have the password to the email to go in and check. And then, so that's where you need to share it. It is very hard to get that information. Apple doesn't unlock an iPhone because, grandfather passed away or whatever. So it's good to have somebody who knows the codes, who knows the password, or has that kind of digital executor. And you don't have to give them, access at all points. It's just they don't necessarily have the ability to, especially if you do it at the website level. If you do it at like a LastPass level, where LastPass is kind of like this portal inside of it, I have all my passwords. I share maybe the access with Bella. She has her own password to get into my portal. Now she can log in on all those websites and do things as herself. It's different if it's by the website. So if it's a 401k platform that has a digital executor, you might be able to authorize somebody. They can go in and see things, but they can't actually make transactions or do anything like that. But at least they could pull statements or whatever's needed for if something were to happen. So definitely something that you should consider as part of your overall kind of financial and estate plan as you do that.
Definitely. Cool. Thank you, Quentin. And thank you everyone for joining us today. You'll be hearing from us. This obviously was recorded. You'll be hearing from us when this is posted to our website and updated to our YouTube channel. You'll also be receiving an email from us shortly with a short survey. We want your feedback. We want to know how we're doing. And also we're getting ready to talk about topics for 2024. So we'd love to hear your thoughts about what you want to hear about next year. This is also our last webinar for the year, so there is a little second part of that survey is the webinar survey raffle entry. So make sure you get in on that raffle for the mystery prize. It's kind of still a mystery, but we will figure that out. Rachel and I are going to get together and figure that out, and we'll be sure to give you guys a call and let you know that whether you've won or not. And we'll also post it on our social media too, if you do want to see just who won it. And if we didn't get to your question today, please send an email to invest@kwbwealth.com, and we'll make sure to give you an answer. So thank you so much for joining. Have a happy and safe holiday season.